Elizabeth runs an aerobics show on TV. She finishes her shoot and leaves. As it's her birthday, everyone wishes her well. The entire hallway is filled with her pictures. The female washroom is under construction, so she goes to the gents one. The producer Harvey comes to the washroom and he is talking to someone on the phone. He calls Elizabeth an old hag and wants to fire her for a younger model. Elizabeth comes back and she has heard everything. At lunch, Harvey fires her saying that her career as a woman is over. As she is driving back, she sees a billboard of her being removed. She gets struck by a car and faints. She gets up in the hospital and she is all good. The doctor leaves, but as soon as Elizabeth gets up to leave, another young doctor stops her. He checks her spine and says that she is a perfect candidate. He hands her a coat and wishes her the best of luck. Outside, she finds a piece of paper with a pen drive inside its pocket. Suddenly a man named Fred talks to her as if they had known each other a long time back. He calls her the most beautiful woman and asks her to go out on a date. Fred gives her his number and leaves. Elizabeth is at her apartment and she has received a bouquet for her departure. She plays the video on the pen drive. It talks about a drug called the substance which will cause a cellular division. Anyone who takes it will have a better version of themselves. But the catch is that the older and the newer versions have to share 1 week each as they are one entity. Elizabeth dismisses it and trashes the pen drive. At night she gets back home drunk. She sees all her awards and past glory, which infuriates her. She smashes a globe on her picture. She takes out the pen drive and calls the number in it. She places an order and the person on the other end gives her a new address and cuts her call. The next morning she sees a casting call for her replacement in the newspaper. She also finds a mail from the site which has a key card in it. She goes to the location, which is quite shady. She opens the door using the key card and finds a vault with lockers in it. She opens a locker with her number and takes out the package. She opens it and finds multiple tools consisting of activators and stabilizers with all the instructions and rules. She is standing in the bathroom naked inspecting her body, which has aged. She then proceeds to inject herself with the activator. Suddenly she feels a sharp pain and falls to the ground. She starts to have an epileptic reaction and quivers in pain. A different eyeball starts to appear in her eyes. Her back starts to rip off and another human comes out of there. The new body comes out and sees herself in the mirror. It's the younger version of Elizabeth. She is much younger, firmer, and beautiful. She then sews back the slit of the body. She then injects the food meant for the other body, and it starts to breathe. The next morning, she feels dizzy and uses the stabilizer. She injects it into the old body and draws a fluid out of there. She then injects it in herself. She is now completely stable. She sees the casting call and decides to go there. On her way, she finds a swimsuit and decides to buy it. The audition process is going on and the casting directors are unhappy with all the women as they don't have the perfect body. Then Elizabeth appears there and everyone is astonished by her. She introduces herself as Sue. Harvey comes there and hires her. Sue tells him that she will not be able to work every other week as she has to take care of her sick mother. Harvey says that he is desperate for her and that the schedule will be according to her convenience. As she walks through the street, all the men ogle at her. She starts her photo shoot. Her face is on the billboard. Meanwhile, she is keeping Elizabeth alive as well. On day 7, Sue switches herself with Elizabeth. Elizabeth comes back to life and lies down next to Sue. She then goes to the studio and sees that all her pictures have been taken off the wall. Harvey comes and hands her all her stuff. He gives her a gift and leaves. She gets back home and creates a schedule for her and Sue. She spends all her days watching television as her old self has nothing to do. She goes and collects her refill kit. She then switches herself with Sue. Sue is back to life and sees Elizabeth's dull life. She then starts to knock on her walls. She finds a hollow space and starts to break it open. Her neighbor Oliver comes banging to complain about the noise. He is struck to see Sue as she introduces herself as the new tenant. Oliver makes some derogatory jokes and tries to get on with Sue. Sue shuts the door and gets back. She then hides Elizabeth and her picture in the new hidden room. She starts her shooting and crushes her first day. The hallway now has her pictures. She gets ready to go out. Elizabeth's food is almost finished, but she leaves anyway. Back at home, Elizabeth starts to react as the supplement is completely gone. Sue gets back home with a guy and starts to make out. Suddenly her nose starts to bleed. She runs and sees that Elizabeth is done with her supplements. She thinks of breaking the rule as she wants to live a bit more. She draws more fluid from Elizabeth and injects herself. She gets back to the guy who says that she looks more beautiful than before. Elizabeth comes back to life and sees the mess that Sue has created. She then suddenly sees that one of her fingers has aged like 100 years. She calls the company and the person says that her other half has used more life than she was supposed to and now they can't undo the reaction. She comes back and sees Sue's show, which angers her. She sees Oliver on the TV who wants to have a night out with her. He is being a pervert, but Elizabeth leaves. Elizabeth then goes out to collect the refill kit. Then she hears some strange noises, but she leaves. She goes to a nearby cafe and sees an old man looking at her. The man asks how is her substance working. She remembers him as the young doctor who offered her the substance in the first place. He says that slowly the younger erosion will eat her up. She gets freaked out and runs from there as well. While getting back, she bumps into the guy Sue was having He does not recognize her and behaves obnoxiously with her. She finds Fred's number and calls him. Fred is elated to receive her call and they both fix a dinner date. In the evening she gets ready, but after she sees Sue's body she chooses to put more makeup on. She goes out again and sees the billboard. She covers herself as her body is not anymore what it was supposed to be. She removes her makeup as well. She tries to get out again but fails as she is too self-conscious looking at how perfect Sue is. She gets back and aggressively removes her makeup. She is sitting on her bed while Fred keeps on messaging her about the date. She then binges on food. Sue is shooting when suddenly snaps in her hips. She gets startled for a second but is ready to start again. The cameraman says that they found something in the shot and they start to play the clip. Multiple men zoom in on her hips in slow motion, which makes her uncomfortable. She leaves the stage. She goes to her vanity and finds something stuck in her body. She pushes it up to her belly button and takes out a piece of chicken. It was merely a nightmare and she got up. She sees all the food that Elizabeth has binged on. She calls the number again and says that she works all day and Elizabeth wastes it by eating and watching TV. The caller says that there is no she in her and they are both the same entity. She goes to the office and Harvey tells her that the trip is through the roof. Now her show will air on prime time and she will be hosting the New Year's Eve show. She slowly starts to break the rules and leaves for more than 7 days by drawing fluid off of Elizabeth. After a couple of days, Elizabeth gets up and she screams in agony. Half of her body has aged hundreds of years. She calls the number and complains about Sue. The caller asks if she wants to stop, but she says no as she believes that her old self has no worth leaving. At night, she sees the gift that Harvey gave her. It's a book on French cuisine. She starts to cook everything there when suddenly an interview with Sue plays on the show. Upon asking, Sue tells the interviewer that she never saw Elizabeth's show as it was of Stone Age. She keeps on lying about her and insults Elizabeth. Elizabeth gets furious watching this as she cooks. In anger, she starts to destroy the entire apartment. Sue gets up and she is up in flames seeing what Elizabeth has done. She says that she can't let Elizabeth live anymore as she is gross, old, and disgusting. She draws every ounce of fluid from Elizabeth. After days, she is looking at her new billboard. A man comes and asks her to come to bed. She goes to draw more fluid from Elizabeth, but only tar comes out of her. She starts to feel sick and calls the number. The caller says that she has drained all the fluid and she has to switch so more fluid can be generated. Sue does not want to, but she has no power left in her so she switches. Elizabeth comes back to life. The guy goes to the washroom to check for Sue but Elizabeth shuts it. She has aged to a point where she does not even look like a human. He keeps on banging on the door but Elizabeth in a rage asks her to get out. He gets horrified and runs from there. She calls the number again and says that she wants to stop as she is not even in a human-like condition anymore. She covers herself completely and goes to collect the package. She then jabs the termination in Sue, but she stops for a moment and sees all the achievements that Sue has made and regrets her decision. She says that Sue needs to live and tries to bring her back by switching. Sue comes back to consciousness and surprisingly both of them are awake. She then sees the Terminator and brutally attacks her, eventually murdering her. The next day she goes for her New Year's Eve shooting. Suddenly she starts to feel nauseous again and leaves backstage. She goes to the washroom and one of her teeth falls off. She remembers that there are still some of the activators left and goes to fetch it. While going back her ears fall off as well, and her nails start to chip. She somehow manages to go back and use the activator. A reaction starts to happen and a monstrous figure of two hybrids called Monstro Elisasu comes out. She puts on the dress and the jewelry and goes to the studio. She sticks Elizabeth's picture on her face. While walking through the corridor she remembers how she was celebrated once. The function is going on when the hybrid goes on stage and rips open the mask. The audience erupts in fear seeing her. Nobody recognizes her and calls her a monster and a freak. They attack her as well. She starts to shower blood in the entire stadium. Everyone runs out of there and she is the only one left. She tries to run off but falls and is scattered in pieces. A part of Elizabeth's face drags and goes to the Hollywood Walk of Fame which was built for her. She imagines audiences applauding her for a moment and then melts. A cleaner wipes off her excess from there.
So, that was the recap for the 2024 movie The Substance. For more movie recaps like this hit the subscribe button and check these out as well.